Hello and welcome to the New Jersey Morning Show. I'm Kerry DeFalco.
And I'm Mike Favetta. We're so glad you could join us today. The New Jersey School of Conservation is once again facing closing its doors after Governor Murphy's budget proposal would cut their funding by 60%.
The school isn't going down without a fight. Here to tell us about their efforts is Executive Director Kerry Pflugh. Kerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
We're so happy you could join us today. Can you just, first of all, tell us a little bit about the New Jersey School of Conservation, its history, the role it plays in environmental education here in New Jersey?
Sure. The School of Conservation has been a pivotal actor in the field of environmental education. We actually got our beginnings in the 1930s when President Roosevelt's Jobs Creation Program, the Civilian Conservation Corps, came into Stokes Forest and built the camp. And during that period of time, the young people who worked here worked throughout Sussex County and helped build a forest. And from there, we then worked with educators. Dr. L.B. Sharp saw the potential of using the facility when the CCC exited Stokes Forest to see it as an outdoor education center for the state. And he worked with educators and legislators and the governor's office at the time and established the school. We have been offering environmental education programs since 1949 and summer camps, bringing young people from all over the state into the School of Conservation to learn about natural resources and one another in a natural setting. So we offer all sorts of programs. All of our classes and lessons have been correlated with New Jersey core curriculum standards. We offer climate change lessons and social emotional learning. We're very excited about our offerings and continuing to be a leader in the field of environmental education.
Wow, that all sounds really, really great, especially for the environmental side. But Kerry, in your more recent history, the New Jersey School of Conservation faced closure in the early days of the pandemic. Can you explain how you managed to save the school?
So I think it really comes down to three things. It comes down to the school's reputation, the relationships that we have had over the many decades of our operation, and ultimately the resources that our champions in the legislature provided for us in order to stay open. The Friends of the New Jersey School of Conservation has been around since the 1980s, and we were here to support the school, to complement any shortfalls they might have had in their budgets, to provide some program work, projects that they needed on the campus. And when it was announced that the school would close, we geared up and identified leaders in the environmental community, in the academic community, in the business community to work with us to do a very aggressive outreach program and encourage the governor, the DEP, the state legislature to keep the school open. And we were very successful, thanks to the leadership of the governor and of Senator John McKeon, Senator John Smith, Bob Smith, and the Department of Environmental Protection in establishing new legislation, assigning us as managers of the school, and also signing a 20-year lease with the state to provide the services that we have been historically providing.
Kerry, and we were just looking at some of the photos as you were talking earlier, and the programs look incredible. So you guys made a lot of progress these past few years since you were able to save the school from closing during the pandemic. Now we're facing another closure because of this budget cut. So what do you need now to continue to keep the doors open, and what happens if the state isn't as responsive as they were during the pandemic?
So first of all, I want to say under no circumstances are we going to let the School of Conservation close after all of the work we've done to save it. We are in a budget period that's challenging across the state. We are one of many organizations that are looking at cuts in our budget. And we are working very hard with our legislative leaders to find the funds to support the school. we've made incredible progress. Like so many of our buildings that had been underfunded for many years, we had the funds and we're repairing them, making them available to our young people. We are bringing back schools. We just had 3 schools here in the last 2 weeks for overnight programs. We are booked through the September for schools. So there's great energy, great momentum, great commitment on the part of virtually everyone, both here, our board members, and our supporters throughout the state. So if the state doesn't come through, we are committed to finding the funds to keep the school operating. And we'll have to look at how we do that. I mean, obviously, some of the capital improvements that we are making will have to stop. And some of the outreach that we're trying to do, especially to our communities, environmental justice communities and Title I communities, are going to be very, very challenged. But I feel very hopeful that we will prevail, that we will have our champions in the legislature succeed in providing the additional funding we need to continue to operate.
And that's really important. It sounds like you have so much momentum going forward, especially with all the interest. And can you talk about what your vision for the school is and the role the School of Conservation should play in teaching climate change, especially here in New Jersey, being impacted locally by so many large and extreme weather events, and the social emotional learning to New Jersey students today?
Sure. So the school conservation is not only unique in New Jersey, but really across the nation because we were at the forefront of conservation education, environmental education, and social emotional learning long before we were even calling it that. So our vision really is to build on our past, but with an eye to the future. We are a place where the climate change objectives initiated by the First Lady can actually be taught here. We have lessons that are developed specifically on climate change for young people. We are a place for a professional development for educators, and we want to be that place where we can provide the resources and tools to our educators across the state and work with the First Lady and work with the Department of Education to provide those resources. So we see ourselves as sort of the place where educators can come and learn from one another, and then be able to develop programs that they can take back into their classrooms for their students.
I absolutely love that, Kerry. And I love also not only the conservation and the climate change portion of the education, but like you had touched on that social emotional, which like you said, there wasn't a name for it until very recently. But I think that's so critical, especially for young people, to get out in nature, to kind of take that time away from the screens and the phones. And it does give them something that, they're really not getting otherwise.
That's right. Like I said, this is really kind of a magical place. People come here and sort of the stress of the world around outside world falls off, and they learn how to interact more effectively with one another, and they see their role in the world, their abilities to interact with the natural environment and see its place in their lives, even though they may not live in a natural setting all year round. So the school does provide, I think, a safe haven. And ultimately, what we want to be is a very welcoming place to people of all backgrounds, of all cultures, to come here and learn together, to learn how to get along with one another, as well as interact in a positive way with the environment.
Amazing stuff. Kerry, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Where can folks go if they'd like to enroll or learn more, possibly donate to help keep the school funded? Where should we go for more information?
You can go to our website. It's njsoc.org. And on that, at that page, you'll find all sorts of information about the programs that we offer, both the school programs and our public programs. And you'll be able to be directed to a page that will, allow you to make some donations, and we would welcome any support and help that anyone can give.
Great stuff. Kerry, Kirk, Pflugh, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
Mike, I knew you would love that story and that interview. I'm sitting here
Yeah.
going, where do I sign up? I want to go hang
I
out.
know.
in
It is
Stokesport.
great, especially, that climate change aspect is always so important, keeping younger children and younger generations in the loop of what ultimately will become a bigger problem for them and that generation in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some high hopes for Gen Z around that. We'll see. You're watching the New Jersey Morning Show. Catch us online at ONNJ.com or on your Roku or Fire TV.